Hello and welcome to the first episode of the EB Sports Pod. This is the first episode, like I said. I'm Ethan, I'm the main host of the show, and I'll be presenting it every week. It'll be me, and hopefully I can have a few guests, which I'll be talking about later, who have their specialist sports that I'm not so strong about, and they'll help me out, and it should all go good. And we'll try and get each episode will be hopefully once a week, and it'll be 30 minutes, which I thought would be a good length, because a normal TV episode is about 30 minutes long, and if it goes too long, I don't think people will listen. If it's too short, I don't think I get enough content. So I thought 30 minutes was just about perfect for what I wanted to get across. So as you can see in the title, it is a sports pod. So that means it would not just be football. People know me. I'm a big football fan. I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan. But I'm not just going to be talking about football. I want to get all sports across, get a bigger audience. And obviously, I will be talking about football more, because it is probably the largest sport in the UK, and most people like to listen to that. But I want to fit in the other sports as well, just so I need to cover them. It's good also to change as well. And I'll have some special episodes sometimes, like maybe a motorsport special or something with a few of my guests that are specialists on that, which I'll get into a bit later. Keep updated on the Twitter at EB_pod, and I'll keep an updated which guests I'm going to have on, what topics I'm going to be talking about. I'll try and tell you when it's going to go published, because sometimes it takes a few days to get sort of verified by iTunes and then go out, and I'll put a link on Twitter, and then I think on iTunes you can subscribe so you get notifications every week when the episode live, and you can have a listen, which will be greatly appreciated. So I'm just going to go through the sports that I'm going to be talking about. Football, obviously my main topic. I talk about that quite a lot. I know a lot about that. I can talk about that for a while. Boxing, I follow that quite strongly as well. I'm a big fan of the heavyweight division. Tennis, I follow when it's like Wimbledon, and obviously the main events at the moment, like the US Open. I'll talk about that a bit later. Golf, not saying I follow too much, but one of my guests is particularly good on that topic, so I'll get to that. UFC, I don't really follow that, but he's quite big in UK now. So, and one of my guests does actually know quite a lot about that, so that's good, and he can get him on when there's something big to do that. F1, one of my guests, quite an expert in that, really enjoys F1, so that'll be good to have on to talk about that, to help me out, because I only watch F1, like the odd race, really. Rugby, none of my guests really follow, I don't really follow, but I'll update when there's something big going on, like the Rugby World Cup or something, or any big England matches that are going on. Athletics, similar, like if there's an Olympics, or there's like the European Championships or whatever. I usually watch the odd bit of those, so I can talk about that as well. Cricket, like if there's the Ashes or something, talk about that. Darts, I got quite into darts for a while, know the rules, watch it from time to time. It's quite exciting. Reasonably big following UK, big thing in the UK. Some good UK darts players, so keep you updated on that. Cycling, when there's like Tour de France or other events. Sounds a bit silly, but even YouTube sporting events are quite a big deal now, with the charity football matches, and especially the boxing. Recently with the Logan Paul KSI fight, which got so many viewers. Really great fights on there, a lot of viewers, so I've got to talk about that. And the main sporting events really is what I'll be discussing. So now I'm going to go on to the future guests. First, there's obviously myself. I'll be on every week. I edit the shows, I record the shows. So it'll always be me, Ethan. One of my guests is Josh. He's a Manchester United fan, so he'll be talking about football. He's specialises in golf, plays a lot of golf, good golfer himself, follows the golf. Good guest to have on the show, considering I don't know much about golf. So it'll be a really good guest to have on, especially with the Ryder Cup coming up. Jake is a Leeds fan, and he watches a lot of boxing and UFC, likes his combat sports, knows a lot more about UFC than I do, so good to have him on the show when there's something big. Sam J, Liverpool fans, another good to have a football fan on who supports a different team than I do. Support and watches a lot of F1, as I was talking about earlier. A bit of an expert in F1 to talk about that a lot more than I can, so it's good to have that. And I might have a motorsport special one. especially if there's something big going on F1, might have him on especially, maybe someone else who follows F1. Zach is a Leeds fan, who's actually Jake's brother, so he's a big football fan, so it's interesting to have him on. Matt is also a fellow Tottenham fan, so it's interesting. He might have a different view towards Tottenham than I do, so that'd be interesting. And Lewis, who doesn't follow sports much himself, wants to get involved, and was a big fan of the YouTube boxing events, so when they happen, I think the next one's in February, KSI Logan Paul rematch. So definitely try and get him on, and maybe a few others, because a lot of my guests did watch that fight and were very entertained, but a bit disappointed about that draw, which we'll talk about later. So talk about this week, really. Monday, obviously, Old Trafford, big Premier League match. Tottenham won 3-0, which was a bit of a surprise. Mourinho on edge a bit again. He might walk out soon, in my opinion, but it's close. Tottenham, really good win, proving that they can do it in them big away from home in the big top 6 matches. Lucas Moura seems like a great signing for them, and it's great. There's League Cup this week, and that was interesting because there wasn't many shocks, but it's early rounds still in the cup. Shocks really, not many, but Burton beat Aston Villa. That was a bit of a surprise to me. Brighton got beat by Southampton. Not really surprised, but obviously a Premier League team going out. Leeds got beat to Preston after such a good start in the Championship. I was surprised they got beaten this game, especially at home. And I know Zach and Jake actually went to that game, so maybe might talk about that at some point. And because they've had a great start this season, I'm sure they're very hopeful of going back up to the Premier League. QPR beat Bristol Rovers 3-1. Not really surprised, but Stephen McLaren has been doing not a great job at QPR. They have not been doing very well in the Championship, but the fans will probably be kept happy with winning. Stoke beat Huddersfield 2-0. A bit of a shock because the Huddersfield Premier League team, Stoke are now a Championship team, so I expected Huddersfield to win that one. On to Wednesday, League Cup. Nottingham Forest beat Newcastle 3-1. Was a big surprise. Newcastle, decent Premier League side. Nottingham Forest, good Championship side. But Nottingham Forest proving shocks again, just like they did last year against Arsenal when they beat them. Friday, there was a Championship game, a big Championship game between Middlesbrough and Leeds, which ended in a 0-0 draw. Quite defensive from Middlesbrough. Not a great game from either side, really. If one of them won that, it really would have been a good result. But a draw, good for Middlesbrough because they're away from home. And Leeds have been really good in the attack this year, but not great result from Leeds, really. They probably could have done with winning that one to really set down a marker, especially since they got to go to the Riverside, which is a tough place to win at later this year. And obviously, there was Premier League results yesterday. Leicester got beat by Liverpool 2-1. Liverpool quite an easy game for them. Leicester did have some good chances though, and they probably should have scored more. And Alisson made a big mistake in that game actually, which was surprising for such a good goalkeeper. And Liverpool did get paid for that, with them conceding their first goal of the season. Fulham and Brighton drew 2-2. Brighton went 2-0 down to Fulham, with great goals from Andrei Schürrle and Alexander Mitrovic. But then Glenn Murray got 2 goals back to really turn it around, and he's having a really great start to this season. Even at an old age, he can still put the goals in for Brighton, and it could be key this season for them staying up. Chelsea beat Bournemouth 2-0. 2 quite late goals from Chelsea, quite usual of them. Quite a nice play under their new manager, and it's been a good start for them. Won every game, can't complain. Crystal Palace got beat by Southampton 2-0. Crystal Palace, I think, needs to talk about this game a bit here from my point of view. Benteke needs to get dropped from that side. He used to be great, but he's just not clinical enough in front of goal. He's missing too many chances. He's just really could be a real problem for Crystal Palace if they can't score goals. And their main man is not scoring goals. He's missing great chances. Southampton on the other side, Danny Ings, he scored again. I thought he was great at Burnley. He went to Liverpool, which seemed like a good move. Through injuries and Liverpool becoming really good recently, he's not been able to find a game. Going to Southampton, Got his chances, scored his goals. That was great. 2-0 win for Southampton. Everton drew with Huddersfield. Not a great game. Expected Everton to win this after the new manager Marcus Silva's had a great start with the side, but maybe they're missing their main man Richarlison a bit because through suspension, him getting sent off. Bit stupidly, you could say, against Bournemouth. West Ham still haven't won a game yet. Still haven't even got a point yet. They spent a lot of money in the summer. Pellegrini, I expected them to do well. I don't like West Ham myself, but I expected them to do better than they did. They spent a lot of money. Pellegrini he's won trophies. He's won big trophies, Premier League trophies. They lost 1-0 to newly promoted Wolves. In the 93rd minute, Adama Traore scored a nice goal. Must have been gutting the West Ham fans. But the atmosphere was utterly awful there yesterday, like it usually is, to be honest. And that probably needs to improve. And I'm sure the West Ham players will be a bit disheartened about that. But they need to get results to get the fans behind them. As simple as. Man City beating Newcastle 2-1. Bit of a close game. Raheem Sterling scoring early on, and DeAndre Yedlin, the American, scoring from right back, good equaliser. Then Kyle Walker scoring a great goal second half, a real rocket of a shot, scoring his first Manchester City goal. He'll be really happy with that. Look at the Championship a bit. Not what I really follow, really. The big game between Leeds and Middlesbrough was Friday. But look at it, see if there's any shocks, really. Not particularly. Well, apart from Sheffield United beat Aston Villa 4-1, which I found surprising, because I thought Aston Villa got a great team. They've made some great signings. I was so surprised by them losing that game. But hopefully Steve Bruce get behind his team. They've got the players, and hopefully they'll turn this season around a bit, because it's not been as great as the starts. Frank Lampard, his first managerial job, it's gone okay so far at Derby. They did get hammered by Leeds, but they beat Hull 2-1 away, which was a good result. I'm sure Frank Lampard would be happy with that, with his new team. Now looking at the Premier League today, Cardiff are playing Arsenal, which will be an interesting game. Cardiff, probably, to be honest, the favourites to go end bottom, go down. They don't look great. They didn't make many great signings. They haven't got any particularly wild players, but we'll see how they do. Arsenal haven't been too great either. So, and they've got the Thursday night Europa Leagues coming up. So interested to see how they do this season under new manager Unai Emery. That's at 1:30 today. Burnley versus Manchester United. That'll be an interesting game. Burnley have got a bit sloppy recently. Unfortunately didn't make it through Europa League qualifiers, which is a bit gutting for them, but they seem tired. We'll see how they're doing against Manchester United though, because a lot of pressure on Jose Mourinho's Manchester United side after they did get beat pretty heavily 3-0 at home on Monday at Old Trafford. Which is supposed to be the theatre of dreams, but it's more like the theatre of screams on Monday after that poor result for them. Another big game at 4 o'clock, Watford v Tottenham. Both teams won all their games so far. Watford manager Xavi Garcia has a great start to the season, and he's probably going to get manager of the month through 2 great starts by those teams, especially considering Tottenham didn't spend a single penny this window and didn't really sell any players either, apart from Anton Walkes, who was a youth player. Championship on today as well, Ipswich v Norwich at 12 PM. I'd expect Norwich to win that one. They had a good result in the Cup during the week. Ipswich, I've heard, aren't been too great recently. Not doing so well at the start. Bristol v Blackburn at 1:30. Don't know too much about that one. It'll be a close game probably. So Bristol had a great result against Man United last year, if people remember that one. But see if they can get a good result again today against Blackburn. So that's sort of rounded up the football. Going on to the other sports, we've got golf. The Ryder Cup is coming soon, so that's great. I'm sure, well, I guess Josh will be looking forward to that, because he's obviously he plays golf a lot himself, big golf fan, good golfer. Have him on the show talking about that probably, as the wait's nearly over for the 42nd Ryder Cup. Plenty of excitement to come, and obviously all the coverage will be on Sky Sports. And obviously I don't know much about golf, like I said earlier in the show, but Josh does. He can help me out with that, talk about that, discuss that, who the favourites are to win it. Tennis, the US Open is on at the moment, which has been interesting. Serena versus Venus. The Williams sisters had to play against each other. Serena won that one quite easily in the first 2 sets. Kyrgios was no match for Roger Federer. He's a great tennis player, one of the best of all time, if not the best. The Swiss did very well again. Djokovic dominated against Gasquet, which was no surprise. Sharapova back at it, shines again under the lights as she knocks out world number 10, Karolina Pliskova, which is a good game actually. It was a good tennis match. And it was interesting to see who'd win that because Maria Sharapova getting back into tennis after a few problems over the years. Nadal, he wore down Kanakanov in an epic tennis match there as well. Close game, but Nadal's done well to beat the 22-year-old in 4 dramatic sets. And that tournament's still going, so I'll hopefully talk about that next time as well. The Italian GP is today, Sunday the 2nd of September. Be a bit of a fight for victory there, with Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Raikkonen, all battling that out. So we'll see how that goes. I'm sure our guest Sam J will be watching that and talking about that, and probably have him on the show at some point, definitely to talk about F1, because obviously something he talks about, he's a bit of an expert in it, so it'd be good to have him on talking about that. A bit of a boxing roundup. Heavyweight, obviously I follow. Dillian Whyte came out yesterday, said he'd be a risky fight for Anthony Joshua. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. Anthony Joshua's beat him in the past when they both weren't as good. They both got better. Joshua's got a lot better. He's a world heavyweight champion now. So I don't see how Dillian Whyte would be a challenge, but it's obviously not. It's not an easy fight, but I think Anthony Joshua could probably win that one pretty easily. Quite a big one yesterday with Sky Sports exclusive was that Tyson Fury is not licensed to fight in the USA despite his plan to challenge WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder. Fury claimed he was going to knock out Wilder in Las Vegas, but how's that going to happen if they can't fight in Las Vegas? It'll be interesting what happens there. A fight had been agreed, but I'm not sure how it's been agreed if he's not got a license. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully I can keep you updated on that in the future. Tony Bellew is fighting again as a cruiserweight after his 2 great knockout wins against David Haye, which was a bit of a shock to everyone because people didn't believe in Tony Bellew to win that because he's not a typical heavyweight. Even himself, he said he's not in the greatest of shape, but he proved everyone wrong. He did it, and he's done great there. Pound for pound, Supremo Usyk immediately called out Bellew after winning the World's Boxing Super Series and becoming the undisputed cruiserweight champion in July. So him and Tony Bellew have a fight, and it seems like it's going to be November the 10th, or in London or in Manchester. And it's probably going to be announced soon, but it seems to be a very great chance, and it's close to finalised, so hopefully that'll be done soon. Amir Khan come out and said that he's at the peak of his career, and he faces Samuel Vargas in Birmingham on September the 8th. So that's coming very soon. Joshua v Povetkin is coming soon as well. That'll be a good fight. And obviously, Anthony Joshua defends his IBF, WBA and WBO heavyweight titles against former world champion Alexander Povetkin on September the 22nd. You can watch that through Sky Sports box office. There'll be a 90,000 crowd. A really great crowd for that. I expect Joshua to win, but Povetkin, no easy fight. And it seems like quite recently, Sky Sports exclusive was that Dillian Whyte is a favourite to fight Anthony Joshua after Povetkin. That fight will be in April. It's interesting because Eddie Hearn came out earlier this year, or the end of 2017, and said Anthony Joshua will be undisputed champion of the world. He will have all the belts by the end of 2018. It does not look like that's going to happen at all now. Everyone expected him to fight Joseph Parker, which did. He won. Great. He got that belt. Now he's got to fight Povetkin. No belts on the line. He's not going to win any belts there. He was expected to fight Deontay Wilder, but that's not worked out, which was a bit of a surprise. A bit of an issue there where they were going to fight. Josh wanted to fight in the UK, Wilder wanted to fight in America. That would have been it. That would have been Joshua's fight to become the undisputed champion and have all the belts, but that hasn't turned out, so interesting how that went. 4 days ago, actually, Floyd Mayweather's 50-0 record has been overtaken by Wanheng Menyaofin. I reckon he's up his 51st uninterrupted victory. The WBC minimum weight champion defeated Pedro Tajuran by unanimous decision to defend his world title and improve upon Mayweather's trademark record. Don't really know much about him. But I'm not very good. One thing I've got to say is important. I'm not very good at pronunciations. I will always try. But I'll see how that goes. Hopefully I'll improve and more practice. Not much else sporting wise really currently. I always, like I said, always try and get the main sporting headlines in. Recently, it was KSI versus Logan Paul, the big YouTube boxing event. Sounds a bit silly to talk about on here, but it is a big sporting event. A lot of people did watch it. A lot of people probably listening to this will probably have watched it. It's probably worth something talking about. I do want to talk about that a little bit. I did think the first 2 rounds, Logan Paul were very dominant. I thought KSI was going to lose, to be honest. It seemed like there's no chance, but KSI did great. Maybe the draw was the right decision, but I think on that last round, KSI probably nicked it. But the interesting thing was, if you remember correctly, those that have watched it, KSI did throw a late punch at the end of after the bell went at the end of round 2. Could have got him a points deduction. It's not really come out yet, but that's probably, if it didn't get a points deduction, the ref still would have been disappointed by that. Maybe scoring it an equal fight. Maybe if KSI hadn't done that, he might have won the fight. But they're having a rematch in February, which I'm sure I'll have Lewis and a few other guests on to talk about that. Obviously, the big fight with that was Jake Paul versus Deji. That was a good fight. Deji worked hard. People expected him to win. Didn't expect him to win, sorry. And he didn't, but he worked hard. He did better than everyone thought he would. Jake Paul did knock him out in round 1. That didn't happen. It was a stoppage in round 5. So that was good for Deji. Deji wants a rematch. Jake Paul doesn't. Jake Paul called out Chris Brown after the fight, which I just don't see happening myself, but that'd be interesting. It's a big event, this YouTube thing, and it'd be interesting to see who's fighting in February. The views just keep going up and up. This fight was pay-per-view as well. They're getting money, loads more money for it as well. I think they got 50 million each for this KSI Logan Paul. That might not be right, but that's about the same sort of money Anthony Joshua gets for his fight. So that's really telling you something. For an amateur fight against the world heavyweight champion fight, getting similar money, probably very similar views. If not, YouTube might have got more, to be honest. So yeah, I might talk about boxing. Might talk about basketball as well, and other American sports like NFL. I'm starting to follow them more. Basketball's very entertaining. And NFL is as well. Trying to get them American sports. They're starting to become more integrated into the UK now. A lot more English fans want to view that. Like the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium will be used for NFL as well. A lot more NFL events over here. A lot more NBA events are starting to come over here now as well. Interesting to see what happens there. The American sports coming over. Just like English sports like football has gone over there. Called soccer over there. But that is quite a big deal. The MLS has some great players out there. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. It's had David Beckham in the past. Frank Lampard. Stevie Gerrard. Who else? Robbie Keane. All great big names over here playing out there. So that's it for this show sort of today. It's a bit shorter. It's just me today, Ethan. No guests on today. I wanted to have the first show, sort of get used to it. This is all new to me. Obviously new to everyone else. The first show, see how it goes. It does take, I think, 3 to 10 days to publish to iTunes, so hopefully it's shorter, sooner rather than later. And hopefully I can edit this alright. It's a bit shorter. It's the first one out there. See how it goes. Good practice for me. Good test run. See how it goes. I wanted to introduce the show to everyone, and that also was key, and I hope I've done that for everyone. The main point is sort of thanks for listening, really, if you've listened, and look out for the next week's show. Hopefully you have a guest on, and I appreciate all support here, and I'm really appreciative of the guests helping me out. And keep updated on Twitter with EB_pod. Also want to say thanks to my friend Alex, who's going to be making the logo for the podcast. And yeah, that's it for this first episode of the EB Sports Pod. And hopefully you guys have a good week, and hopefully you'll listen next week. And thanks for listening. Just a quick add on to this first episode is, if you listen to this, you'll be listening to it through YouTube, and this has been decided because it's more accessible for more people, as iTunes is just Apple, and not everyone will have Apple devices, and YouTube is accessed by everyone. It's a lot easier to upload. I don't need to make an RSS feed, and a lot quicker, and I can be more reliable uploading episodes, and hopefully it should work out better.